Welcome to Crochet with Potter and Bloom.
This is a video tutorial on how to make a mitred granny square, and this is the granny square that we use in my star advent pattern. And I'm going to show you the tutorial using this brown yarn because I tried using white yarn and it is really difficult for you to see. This is just Starcraft Special DK, so any DK yarn will work. Starcraft Special DK is perfect for this pattern. I'm also using a 4mm hook. So, for a mitred granny square, they're a little bit different to a traditional granny square, and they do take a little bit of getting used to, which is why I am doing this video. We start in the same way though. We start with a slip knot, which we place onto our crochet hook, and then we chain 4, and join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain to form a loop. Now we're going to chain 3, which counts as our first treble or double if you are in the US. This is exactly the same as a traditional granny square, and we're going to do the same thing as usual by working 2 trebles, two doubles if you're in the US. Okay, now this is where things are a little bit different. Instead of then continuing round in a square, we are going to make our first chain 2, which is kind of the only corner in a mitred square. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So you chain 2 and then you work 3 more trebles, doubles if you're in the US, okay, so that looks like half of a traditional granny square. And that is where the similarities end, because now we're going to turn. We're going to turn. I like to do my turning chain before I turn. Sorry, let me say that again. So you chain 4, okay, and then turn. We're turning our work. We're going to go back this way. Okay, so we work chain 4 and we work 3 trebles, okay, 2 chains and 3 trebles into that chain 2 space. So just like a corner would look on a traditional granny square. Oh, let me move that out of the way so that you can see. Okay, so we've just worked this central corner, and then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to work a treble or double if you're in America into the top of the beginning chain 3. So let me just get a bit closer so that you can see. So this is your last group of 3 trebles, the first of which is your beginning chain 3, and you want to put your last stitch 1 treble, 1 double if you're in the US, You want to put it in there. Okay? This looks weird, it feels weird, but it will work, I promise. And now we're going to chain 3. And turn. So we're turning again. Let's have a look at what we've got. So far we've got something that looks a bit like this, which kind of looks a bit like a granny square, but maybe like a granny square that's gone wrong. So this time we've chained 3 and then we're going to work 2 trebles into this first space. And that's 2 doubles if you are in the US. Okay. Move that over there. We're going to chain 1 and we're back at this central space again. So in this central space we're going to work our central corner, if corner is what you can call the mitered line that runs up the centre of this square. It's very, very strange to know what to call it. So you chain 3, no you don't, you do 3 trebles, chain 2, 3 trebles. If you're in the US you do 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. Okay. In a minute you'll be able to see what's going on and it will all make sense, I promise. Chain 1 and then in this last space here we're going to work 3 trebles, 3 doubles if you use US terminology. And I'm just so sorry that I have to say that all the time because that's just the way it is. Okay, we're going to chain 4 again and then we're going to turn. Okay, can you see what's happening yet? We've got this central line where we're working our corner, 3 trebles, 2 chains, 3 trebles, and then we're extending along these 2 edges here and here. So when you turn and you already have a 3 treble group, you need to chain 4 and you work your first 3 treble group into that first space. Okay, so the chain 4 acts as 1 treble, 1 chain. So we work 3 trebles, chain 1, and then we're back in our corner, 3 trebles, two chain, 3 trebles. Okay, chain 1, 3 trebles into your next space, which is here. Okay, chain 1, and when you are ending on a block of 3 trebles, you chain 1 and you work your last treble into the top of the beginning chain. 3, chain 3 and turn. So hopefully you'll be able to see where we're going with this. It's maybe starting to make a little bit more sense. You can see that this is our central line, which is what a mitered line is. It's at 90 degrees. Okay, so we continue. Because we're starting with a chain 1 space, we chain 3 and we work 2 trebles, or 2 doubles if you use US terminology, into that first space. Okay, chain 1 and then 3 trebles into that next space. chain 1, and here we are in our corner or our mitre line. So we do 3 trebles, 2 chains, 3 trebles. Okay, we chain 1, work 3 trebles into the next space, chain 1 and 3 trebles into the last space. Okay, chain 4, turn. And so this is how your square grows. We're going backwards and forwards. We go along this line. Here's our central corner, and then we're going along this line. And then we're turning and we're going back along this line, going into our corner and coming back. And that's all you have to do for the Star Advent pattern. This is how you would work the plain coloured squares. On my pattern they are white, and it probably is a good idea if you haven't worked a mitered square before. It's probably a good idea to do your white or your plain coloured squares first, just so that you can get the hang of it, because it does feel a bit strange at first. So I've just done 3 trebles, 1 chain, 3 trebles, 1 chain. I'm back at the beginning, not at the beginning, I'm back at the corner, and so in the corner I do 3 trebles, 2 chains and 3 trebles. But yeah, I would certainly suggest, and a lot of my testers said that they did the same thing, that they practiced on the plain squares first. And you're going to need a good number of plain squares, so you could get your technique sorted out fairly quickly. By working just in one colour and following this tutorial. We join, work our last treble into the top of that beginning, chain 3, chain 3 and turn. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going to the end. So when we start with a chain 1 space, we always chain 3 and work 2 trebles. Okay, chain 1, when you start with 3 trebles you chain 4 and you continue. Now for the Star Advent pattern we are working 11 rows in total, and you can just count your central, I'll just move my hand out of the way, you can just count your central 3 trebles, 2 chain 3 trebles, your central line. So you just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we want 11. So we keep going. Okay, my battery ran out, so I had to go and change it, and I thought that I would get to the last row so that we could do the last row together. So this is the square so far. It has got, if you count your central 3 trebles, 2 chains, 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we want 11 rows, so we finish on a chain 3 and a turn, 2 trebles, chain 1, 3 trebles in all the way to the center, so 3 double crochets, chain 1 if you are using US terminology. The pattern comes in both UK and US terminology, and they are on separate pages, so it's easy enough to remember when you're reading the pattern. It's just so difficult when you're doing a tutorial because I am UK based and we use completely different terminology to you, and it is so frustrating, I'm sure, for everybody involved. Okay, so we've worked all along that row. We get to the center, we work our final 3 treble 2 chain 3 treble group, and then we chain 1 and work 3 trebles into each space to the end. And you work your last 3 trebles, and that is that. So you have worked a mitered granny square. It's a little bit strange, and when you've never done it before, or when you first start doing it, you just don't really know what's going on. It's quite frustrating. But then as soon as you get the hang of it and you realise that it actually ends up being a perfect square, it's marvellous. Let me cut off that end. And I'm now going to do a tutorial for the 2 colour square, but I think that you can see when I'm laying the square out like that, I think you can see how the idea of doing this half in one colour and this half in the other came to me, because it has this perfect line down the centre, and that's where the idea came from. So that is how to work a mitered square. This is for the Star Advent pattern, and I will leave a link to the 2 colour version tutorial next. Thanks for watching. I hope that was useful. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Let me know in the comments below. See you on the next video.